All right, so to kind of talk about the latest news in abortion access and what's going on with the Supreme Court, today we have with us two of the founding members of the Progressive Arkansas Women PAC on the subject of abortion and the Supreme Court. What is going on right now? What is the abortion case that the Supreme Court has just picked up?
Well, there's a case that's coming out of Mississippi, and the legislature just in their last session passed a law that would ban virtually all abortions after 15 weeks of gestational age. And that flies directly in the face of Roe v. Wade. And actually, cases decided in the Supreme Court since Roe v. Wade, it would make a major, major change in the landscape of a woman's ability to access abortion. So many of these states, and Arkansas is one of them, have passed laws that will completely ban abortion from the point of conception, throughout the pregnancy. And if Roe v. Wade is overturned, Arkansas and other states, abortion will no longer be legal. And the clinics will have to close, Planned Parenthood, Little Rock Family Planning. That's the situation we're facing.
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. In Arkansas, it would be an immediate cessation of abortion provision. There are only 2 health centers right now anyway that do provide abortion. So it's already not easy if you don't live in central Arkansas to access abortion. And the legislature passed several years ago outlawing a telemedicine access for medication abortion. So that is not accessible right now in Arkansas either.
So throughout for several years now, the Republican controlled legislature has been passing more and more laws that restrict access to abortion, make it harder and harder for women to get an abortion, harder and harder for medical doctors and healthcare personnel to provide abortions. Pre-viability, women have had the right to have an abortion, and abortion could not be banned pre-viability. Now, the Supreme Court has said, in taking up this case from Mississippi, that they want to look at whether states can constitutionally ban pre-viability abortions. In other words, maybe this viability standard is not the line in the sand, that post-viability the state can regulate, if not prevent an abortion, can severely regulate, but pre-viability that the states can. And now with the Supreme Court taking up this case, that whole thing might change. I mean, I don't think they would have taken this case if they weren't preparing to abrogate this viability, pre-viability, viability standard or line. And so that doesn't augur well for women in states like Arkansas.
So for, those who might not be well versed in how the Supreme Court works, or what might have been building up to this, could you talk a little bit about why things are different now? Why is the Supreme Court picking up this case? It sounds like people are going to vote yes.
Well, the obvious answer is that the composition of the court has changed. Obviously the death of RBG is just, and then her replacement by what's her name?
Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett, right? Has just, that's a game changer. And the court was, split pretty well down the middle, prior to Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying. And there was, we were always worried about abortion cases in the Supreme Court, but now there's probably a 6-3 majority that would vote to or decide to change the standard as to when a woman can have an abortion or not. And then there's also a sentiment among some of the justices that it really should be left to the states to decide. And it should be left to the state legislators, that it's that it's really not a legal issue. It's more of a, something policy issue that should be debated and decided by the states. And that's not a new debate. That's what Scalia always said, Justice Scalia.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question, you think?
Yeah. So you would say that this case out of Mississippi, them, deciding to take this up is kind of a monumental moment because it's like the first time
Right.
we're getting abortion challenged at this scale with such a conservative majority.
Right. And also the state legislature, the state politicians, the right to life organizations in states like Arkansas have been pushing for this moment. This didn't happen overnight. They've been, in Arkansas, the legislature since I think 2013, when Murry and I were lobbying over the legislature, they've been pushing, passing laws that under Roe v. Wade, they knew were unconstitutional, but they were setting up to challenge, Roe v. Wade and waiting for the moment when there would be a majority of, conservative justices. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a perfect storm.
Right. There are all these trigger laws that
Yeah.
that states have passed. So immediately it will, become illegal in many states just overnight.
Right. So could you guys talk a little bit more about Arkansas then? How Arkansas is prepared for this moment and what things are going to look like here?
So Arkansas has both a trigger law that they passed 1 or 2 sessions ago, which said that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, abortion will be banned in the state. Plus they have, just for extra, measure, just to drive home the point, the Senator Raper sponsored, and they've passed an absolute ban, just right now, a ban. And so that law right now is going to be challenged by the ACLU and I think, I'm not sure, but maybe another organization, because, we can't wait for the decision in the Supreme Court because this law will go into effect,
Right.
Fairly soon, at the end of June, I guess, or July. So they are challenging it, but depending on what's going to happen with the Supreme Court, like Murry said, I mean, there could be an overnight complete ban on abortion, and it'd be hard to get the courts to help us the way the courts have helped us in the past.
So say I'm a person needing to get an abortion after that. So after this passes, if it does, what would I do? What would that even look like?
Well, you'd have to find out where, how you could get to a provider. And, Arkansas would be, no one, that you would have no one to go to in Arkansas. And surrounding states are not much better. You would have to travel and the expense of travel. And, if you had other children, the cost of childcare, taking off work, it's very, and of course it's going to disproportionately affect poor women, women of color, and because, privileged women that had the means, even before abortion was legal, could find an abortion. But I mean, or go where it was legal. But, it's going back to the old days. It was forcing. And so poorer states like Arkansas and Mississippi and Louisiana are just going to be, those women are going to be forced to have children essentially.
Right.
Or seek something dangerous or illegal.
So I'm sitting here wondering just, wow, is this situation completely hopeless? What can I do? So is there anything that, I and other concerned women or just people in Arkansas can do to either prevent this from happening or fix things should the court rule in favor of Mississippi?
There's planning going on, right, to try to help women in states where abortions will be banned, like Arkansas. So, I mean, it's definitely, there's the Arkansas Abortion Network, Sport Network, which is a small organization here. There's the ACLU. There's Planned Parenthood. I think it's worth supporting all those organizations. Plus, I think it's worth supporting PAWPAC because we're working hard to elect pro-choice women in Arkansas, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take pro-choice women and men to, change the laws here. And I think that's absolutely fundamental. And, I've been a civil rights lawyer for years, and I know we can't go to the courts anymore. Women would say, well, you go to court, and save us or fix this, or you're going to go to court, aren't you? You're going to, well, that avenue is going to be blocked. And it's been getting harder and harder. So women really have to start to organize, become active, call their legislators, monitor their legislators. Don't let their legislators have a pass, talking about in Arkansas. And yes, support women and men who are pro-choice. So that's why I think it's important. I think an organization like PAWPAC is important. I mean, we're not giving up. We don't think anybody should give up. Are you going to just let, the anti-choice people run all over us, take away our rights? I mean, no. It's kind of the way I feel about it. So,
and I think it's really important to engage younger women who may not understand what's at stake, because they grew up with Roe being, legal abortion available, and it's very possible will change. And I think a lot of people don't really understand that. So we've got to, engage and inform and get people riled up to
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm Gen Z myself. I grew up in, an environment where abortion was always an option, even if it's, a little further of an option for some people than others, even if it's a difficult option to have access to. It was still there. So I can't imagine what it would be like if that were to go away completely. But yeah.
What would you do what do you think you do if suddenly the law was you couldn't get an abortion where you lived?
Panic. I don't know. I think honestly just panic, because it's so hard to even get access to contraceptives too for so many women. So there's not even preventative measures that a lot of women or just people can take if they need it. But yeah, definitely, as I understand it now, we don't really have a lot of pro-choice people in our legislature. So hopefully, though, there are a lot of seats up for grab. So we can.
That's right. We have
information, do something about that.
Every seat in the legislature is up for grabs because of redistricting. So now is the time for pro-choice women to run for office, to work for women, pro-choice women who are running for office, to give money.
And do you want to?
I wish there were shortcuts, but there are no shortcuts. We just got to fight the fight.
And do you want to, before we sign off here, do you want to go ahead and plug where can women go if they're interested in running or have a campaign that they're working on and want some help?
Sure. So go to our website, progressivearkansaswomen.org, and you will see that there are opportunities for you to get involved, to express your interest in running for office, to donate money. And we're here to help you. Even we're here to help you make a decision whether or not to run. And we're here to support you, mentor you, and encourage you, and give you lots of wonderful advice if you do decide to run for office. And then we're here to give you money. If you run for which is always the most important part, actually.